What's up, guys? Welcome back to the video. This is Lee here, and today we're here with another financial education tips and knowledge to throw at you guys. And I'm telling you, you want to watch this video all the way to the end because today's video is very special and we're talking about a very important topic today. So, today we're talking about legacy. Have you ever heard that word before? Have you ever thought about it before? Legacy, building a legacy for you and your generation. You've heard the term probably somewhere, somehow, generational wealth. I'm sure you heard that. You know, I've also heard renewable wealth renewable wealth. But generational wealth is something you probably heard, like, you know, somewhere in your lifetime. But today we're talking about legacy, building legacy. So, Tita, you are the financial professional here. And so my question to you is, how can a person build or create a legacy for themselves and their family and basically their generation to come? Like, how can a person build a legacy for themselves and their family in the generation?
That's a very good question. Let me ask you a question, Brother Lee. Do you remember your great-grandmother's name?
Wow. Just like that. From which side? From my mother or my father?
It don't matter.
Well, no, I do not. And here's the reason why.
Okay.
I mean, after this video, I'm gonna ask my both parents for my great-grandmother, for my great-grand parents for their names. But, you know, that's one thing my family, like my wife family, they're blessed. They're so blessed that my wife from her mother's side, they have the great-great-grandfather still alive. He's a World War II veteran, and he resides in Missouri. But yeah, anyways, my both grandparents on my mother's side, they're not alive. And
Brother Lee, that was a simple question. Do you remember your great-grandparents' name? No.
No. No. I come here and explain my whole history. Yeah. I went to them my whole lifetime. No, I don't.
Okay, let's do that again.
No, that's okay. I keep rolling. That's the whole point.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep rolling. Yeah.
All right.
So ask me a simple question. It was just a yes or no question. I'm over about to tell you got my whole life story. Okay. Well.
Okay. All right.
No, I do not remember my great-grandparents' name from either side.
Okay. Thank you for answering the question.
Now it's all out there. People know that, wow, he doesn't know his great-grandparents' name.
Don't feel bad about that, Brother Lee, because a lot of our viewers also don't remember their great-grandparents from both sides.
Now, if you remember your great-grandparents' name, if you know why your great-grandmother and great-grandfather from both your father and your mother's side, if you know their names, this is a challenge. In honor of them, leave their names in the comments below.
I like that idea.
In honor of them, to show that, yes, I remember my great-grandparents' name, honor them by leaving their names in the comments.
That's a really good challenge. And not your grandparents, but your great.
Do not go asking your parents. No. The whole thing is to be honest. Because now I'm here, all guilty. I got my family people watching this video. They're like, wow, he doesn't know his great-grandparents' names. Well, if I'm over here, people are shaming me. So do not go asking your family, you know, for all of these answers. No. Just right now, at the time of watch, if you don't know it, just comment.
Fine.
Comment, I don't know. Like, Lee, I'm with you. I don't know either. If you do know it, say yes or just type the name in the comments. All right.
That's a good one.
Let's continue with the video. Let's go ahead.
Don't feel bad about that, Brother Lee, because I myself don't know my great-grandparents' name.
Oh, she's over here laughing at me like, okay, there you go. Wow. Okay.
I would tell you why I asked that question, because most of us don't remember our great-grandparents' name because they didn't leave us the word Brother Lee used earlier. legacy. They didn't leave us a legacy that we can remember them with, and that's why I love when people stop me and ask me that question all the time, because legacy planning is very important. Lee has a very handsome little boy, right? A precious little boy. And I'm sure he is very cute. And I'm sure now that Lee has brought, he has brought life into this world, he's thinking about legacy. Before then, he probably didn't think about legacy because it was just him. But now he has somebody that is going to carry on his name, and he don't want his name to be mentioned when they're talking about the poorest person or the person that can't feed, right? He wants his name to be mentioned as a man who who left a legacy for this young man that he has brought into this world. So that's why I like that question, and that's why I usually ask people that question, because our great-grandparents didn't have the information that we have access to nowadays, right? Anything you want to find out, you can find out on the internet. You can Google it. You can come here, on YouTube or any of the social media platforms, and you can find there. Right. You can find the answers to anything you would like or you're looking for. But our great-grandparents didn't have that, right? So wealth was limited to either people that were already rich or people that were educated. So if your great grandparents were not educated, not everybody that was educated back in those days had wealth, right? But it was limited, right? These information was limited to the wealthy people, right? A middle class girl or middle class boy or lower class girl, lower class boy would have never had access to the kind of information that we're providing to you guys today that can help you create a legacy or leave a legacy. So we can't blame our great grandparents for not leaving us a legacy, even though we would have liked that. But now we're placed in a position to do that for our children or our grandchildren, to leave them a legacy.
Actually, most African parents and grandparents, like, they left some form of legacy for their children.
Like a land?
Like right. Most family that I know from Liberia and other African countries, their family always leave at least, like for my family, there's a family land that my grandfather left. I think it was like 2,000 acres of land. That's because back then, land in Africa at the time, it was much cheaper. So yeah, there are families who the most common inheritance, I should say, that parents leave for their children in Africa is land or farm, something like that, like rubber plantation or something like that. Anyways.
That's a good one. And that's very beneficial. That's more beneficial to you, to the child or the grandchild, that the land was left for once they're in that country. For example, I'll say Liberia. If they're in Liberia, that land is more beneficial to them. But if they were here in the United States, how would they be able to survive off the land? Right. So that's another thing. It's good that that was all they had to leave us back then in their day, so they left us land. But now we're over here in America or Canada, wherever you're watching this from, or Europe or wherever else you're watching this from, and that land is not really beneficial to you because you're not in the country, right? Unless you decide to build on the land, but that's a whole different topic. But anyways, so us here in America, one way that we can leave a legacy for our children is actually by creating some kind of college plan for our kids, right? Just something that simple. Creating a college plan for them where you're putting something away for that child to be able to pay for tuition once they become college age. That's one way you can, leave a legacy, because then that child would forever remember that my granddad had this account for me that fund my schooling, right? That's one way, and but that's limited to just one child, right? Or just to that person. But another way that you can leave a legacy that we see a lot of Americans are doing, or the wealthy are doing, is by having life insurance, right? I lost my father back in 2018. if, and he didn't have life insurance, but if my father had life insurance, let's just say my father had $1 million
Right.
coverage on himself and he passed away and I was the beneficiary, right? What would life have looked like for me? You know,
Mm-hmm.
now I would have $1 million in the community, right? I can create jobs for other people, open up opportunities for other people, better of my life, my children's life, my siblings' life, right? But unfortunately, my dad didn't leave us with nothing. So now we have the education, we have the information to create that legacy and build that legacy to leave for our children, and they will also follow in our footsteps. So that's why I do a lot of what I do is to kind of change the pattern that we've been living. We've been, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results,
Yeah.
right? So we seeing these things, and our grandparents, our great grandparents didn't do these things. Our grandparents didn't do these things. Some of our parents didn't do these things, and now we're here in our generation. We need to change it, right? We need to break that. I call it a curse. That
Yeah.
curse of not leaving a legacy, not building a legacy, for for your name.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how some of that. Those are some of the ways that you can leave a legacy, brother Lee. Is
So
that
yeah, so basically it's saying that so there's two things. You can either leave good things behind or you can leave bad things behind.
true?
And the good thing is that you can either leave a good legacy and inheritance for your family, or you can leave a burden for your family.
I like that.
And so, and the Bible so rightfully put it that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Not just for his children, but for their children as well. So if your inheritance or if your legacy cannot lay long past your children, that's not a legacy according to the Bible.
Right.
And so it is just so important to, yeah, that's something that I actually have been, my wife and I, these are things we actually sit down and plan and talk about. And one thing we do in our family is that we have a quarterly meeting. So every 4 months we go for a retreat in a different city or a different town, book a hotel for like 2-3 days, and we have an agenda of things to discuss. It's basically like a retreat, almost like any business
Right.
retreat
Right.
or any company retreat, any organization retreat. We go for those meetings, and it's just me, my wife, and our child, and we just discuss all things that relate into how we can move our family forward, where we are right now, what we need to do to be to the next level, what is our 3 months plan, what is our 6 months plan, and what is our 5-year plan. We basically break things
like
down,
that.
into short terms, and work on them. And not just say you just set goals. We have a list of things that we want to do. Where we want to see ourselves in 10 years' time. Where we want to see ourselves in 5 years. Okay, where do you want to see yourself next month? Let's start.
Right.
Let's
Right.
talk about
Let's
that.
start with that.
Because that's how
Little baby steps. Right.
that's how you're gonna get to that 5-year goal.
True.
And so yeah, and that's and part of some of the things we discuss is legacy planning. Like legacy planning, what are you gonna leave behind? Inheritance planning. Like yes, life is hard for you today, but do you want this cycle to continue in your family to your children? If you don't do anything to make life better for your children, you're basically leaving a burden, leaving a curse behind for them, And so that is why it is so important for you to plan well. And one of the persons that I actually I have a lot of his books, that I listen to a lot, and a lot of his content is, the late Dr. Miles Monroe. That man, his message is so powerful on purpose, vision, and planning. It is so powerful that I feel like everybody need to listen to that man. But anyways, planning is just so, all of this legacy and inheritance, it all falls into planning. Planning, sitting down and planning your life, one day at a time, so that you are not just living life just anyhow. It's just whatever comes, it is what it is. No, you have to know exactly where you will be tomorrow, where you will be in 2 months, in 3 months, so that when opportunity do come, boom, you're ready. You're literally ready because you got plans for it. One of the reasons why people who win the lottery, one of the reasons why I've watched documentaries
Yeah.
on people who win the lottery that they go broke within like months. Within few months, they go broke flat, and it's all start with the mindset. You just feel like, oh, I'm gonna play the lottery. I'm gonna go win a couple of $1,000,000 or win $100 million, whatever it is you win. But you do not have a plan on how you're gonna manage that money, how you're gonna grow that money, and so therefore, when the opportunity comes, you're not ready, and so now you just go and spend it all out, and you cannot even give an account of where that money went. And then imagine somebody who was poor had an opportunity to get like hundreds of millions of dollars or even a couple of millions of dollars. And then within 2 years, 3 years, or
Blow it
few
up.
months, everything just disappeared. Now that is the reason why some people need to remain poor.
You know,
but yeah, go ahead.
there's a saying that goes, he who fails to plan plans to fail. Like Brother Lee was saying, we have to plan our life. You cannot just live day to day or live for just the next weekend. What are my plans for the next weekend?
What's popping?
What's popping the next weekend, right? That's not a life that you want to live, because if you fall down today and either get ill or die, what are people going to say about you, right? They're going to talk about you for the first 2 weeks while you're late, after you're late to rest. But after that, nobody is going to say anything about you. They're not going to say, oh, that girl, she did this, she changed our community, she was able to build that school, that's her, or her manufacturing company right there, that's her office right there, Tita Morris was this person and that person. But if you're not planning to that, right, life is hard. The economy is crazy right now.
Crazy right now.
Right? But what are you doing to get yourself out of it? It's not by buying $600 bazillion hair, because that's not a legacy. You can't leave a legacy with that. You can't build a real wealth with that. Buying a $700 Gucci belt, you can't build wealth with that.
Yep.
And nobody knows. Nobody can predict what's going to happen in the next 5 years. The way things are going, inflation is through the roof. So we need to plan so we don't fail to plan.
And speaking of that, speaking of like managing money, and here's the thing: we are not telling you what to do with your money. That is solely your responsibility. Right. We're just here to offer you helpful tips and helpful information that will help you put yourself in a better position to make better decisions that will push you forward in life. And you're talking about spending and all these things, right? I heard this thing from from a guy on a YouTube channel. He said that people do not. Oh, it was Dr. Umar Johnson. He said that you do not ever hear that XYZ family passed down a sneaker to their son.
No, not at all.
Pass down a belt to his son. No, people pass down real estate properties, like investment portfolios. People pass these things down onto their children and their family. These are things that people actually pass down. Like, that you can go to the bank and say, hey, my dad, when he passed, he left me this block of gold.
Right.
As a legacy. And that's something of actual value that will help that individual, financially. You cannot leave behind, an expensive sneakers, so $300 sneakers, or a $600 shoes for your child. Yes, that shoe might have a little bit of value on that. They can probably sell it for, $100 or so to somebody else. But the thing is that the actual wealth that people leave behind for their children, their generation, actual generational wealth, is real estate, is physical value, things that are worth in the marketplace of life, that are worth values in the marketplace of life, such as real estate, like investment accounts, investment portfolios. These are things that people leave behind. And let me tell you something. We're just talking about people like Like just how people go out. And when I first moved to the city of Des Moines, you know, I was first starting up my business and things were challenging. And I'm telling you, it was my first time going to that space. Like people were partying every weekend, and me just going to these events and just seeing how much people are partying. It was just like these were just here like getting drunk and like just. I mean, I guess that's having good times with them. I'm not judging them, but here's one thing that I just actually realized that there has never been for the last 3 years. I've never been to a single event for free. If you see me at any event, I'm paid to be there. And my wife and I were just talking about it, and it was like, wait a minute, even your own brother's wedding, you're not here. Yeah, so any event, if you see me at any event, whether it's some small birthday celebration, is not, I'm always there with a camera in my hand or, with the video camera, whatever. I'm always paid to be at any event. So while other people are getting drunk and parties and that, boy, I got paid a couple of $1,000 to be here for a few hours. But anyways,
Man.
like you got to figure things out. What can I do to add so much value to myself that people will pay for me to be at certain places, or what value can I add to myself that I can build a business portfolio out of that, and all of that can lead eventually into you building a legacy, something that you can leave behind for your generation to come after you. So for today's video, that's what we're just talking about building a positive legacy for you and your family, and that can start with life insurance or investments accounts, real estate properties, and other things. There's so much more out there.
Yeah.
But you just have to sit down and think and plan as to what you want to do and start working towards it. It doesn't matter wherever you are in your life. You can be the least working person right now, making the least amount of money. You just need to have a plan. Have a plan and start working towards it. And things will start changing one day at a time. So, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not really. Just thank you guys.
Yep. So thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned. We got more video coming out. We're dropping video every week. We are dropping a lot of financial education content. We want to educate you so that you know what to do with your money, and that when opportunity knocks on your door, you're ready to take on the challenge. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until then, we'll see you in the next video. Peace.